Why America actually can't survive without Canada. The truth they are not telling you. You know what's wild? The President of the United States stood in front of cameras on March 13th, 2025 and basically said America could cut ties with Canada tomorrow and be just fine. We don't need their cars, we don't need their energy, we don't need their lumber, we don't need anything that they give. And here's the thing, most people just scroll past that headline. Just another day, just another bold statement, right? Wrong. Because I'm about to show you why that one statement might be the most economically dangerous thing an American president has said in decades. And I'm not being dramatic here, the numbers are absolutely insane. Quick reminder before we move on, YouTube analytics show that many of you watch my videos regularly but haven't subscribed yet. If you're finding value in this content, subscribing really helps the channel grow. It's free, takes just a second, and motivates me to keep bringing you better content. Now, let's continue. Here's a fact that'll blow your mind. Every single day, over 4 million barrels of crude oil cross the border from Canada into the United States. That's not a typo, 4.3 million barrels daily. And get this, that represents nearly 2/3 of all the oil America imports from anywhere in the world. Canada isn't just the top supplier, it's in a league of its own. Now you might be thinking, wait, doesn't America produce its own oil? Aren't we like energy independent or whatever? Yeah, we produce tons of oil. We are actually the biggest oil producer on the planet. Bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. But here's the catch that nobody explains. The type of oil matters. See, a huge chunk of American refineries, especially the big ones along the Gulf Coast and throughout the Midwest, were built specifically to handle heavy, thick Canadian crude. That's what flows through the pipelines. That's what these billion-dollar facilities were designed to process. Take Marathon Petroleum's facility in Illinois. It runs entirely on Canadian oil, 100%. If that supply line gets cut, the whole refinery shuts down. Not operates at reduced capacity, it literally cannot function. And what happens to gas prices when you suddenly lose 4 million barrels per day? Energy experts are talking about 30 to 70 cent increases per gallon within a matter of weeks. That's before you factor in panic, market chaos, or speculation. We're talking about immediate pain for every single American driver. Oil is just the beginning though. Let's talk about natural gas, because this is where things get really concerning. Canada sends 8.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas to the United States every single day. Almost every bit of pipeline gas coming into America is Canadian. Now, if you live in places like New York, New England, or the upper Midwest, pay attention. When winter hits and temperatures drop, Canadian natural gas isn't optional. It's what keeps your heat on and your lights working. There are professors at Penn State literally warning that if Canadian hydroelectric imports stop, we're not replacing that with solar panels and wind turbines. We're burning fossil fuels and dealing with higher emissions, worse pollution, and skyrocketing costs. States like New York have been trying to cut carbon emissions partly by importing clean Canadian hydropower. Lose that, and years of climate progress disappear overnight. Okay, here's where this gets genuinely scary. The US government has identified 50 minerals as absolutely critical for the economy and national security. America is 100% reliant on imports for 12 of them. For another 29, we're importing more than half of what we need. And Canada? Canada produces over 60 different minerals and metals, including 21 of those 50 critical ones. Let me break down what this actually means in real terms. Potash. The majority of fertilizer used on American farms comes from Canada. No potash, no fertilizer. No fertilizer, food prices explode. Uranium. Canadian uranium powers nearly 20% of America's electricity grid through nuclear plants. You can't just replace that overnight. Rare earth elements. These are the materials needed for everything from fighter jets to smartphones. China controls over 90% of global processing, and America has been desperately trying to reduce that dependency. The backup plan? Canada. Here's how bad this could get. In April 2025, China briefly restricted exports of 5 critical minerals to the US. Ford had to stop production at its Chicago plant because it couldn't get rare earth magnets for electric power steering. Tesla faced similar shutdowns. One restriction, one country. American car manufacturing nearly collapsed in weeks. Now imagine if we lose Canadian mineral supplies while still fighting with China. We'd be completely screwed. The automotive industry's dirty secret. Let me tell you something that'll make your head spin. When a car gets assembled in Detroit, that vehicle might cross the US-Canada border 6 or 7 times during production. That's not a joke. Parts get made in Ontario, shipped to Michigan for assembly, sent back to Canada for integration, then returned to the US for final production. This isn't some bureaucratic inefficiency, it's decades of optimization. The border basically doesn't exist from a manufacturing perspective. Canadian auto parts flow into American factories worth billions every single month. Engines, transmissions, electrical systems, safety equipment. There's a reason industry people say you can't unscramble an egg. Ontario alone has 675,000 jobs directly tied to exports to American markets. Many of those workers are making parts that American cars literally cannot be built without. Tariffs don't just raise prices here, they force companies to completely rebuild production systems that took generations to create. We're talking years of disruption, tens of billions in costs, and massive job losses on both sides. Let's get into the actual data, because this is where the rhetoric falls apart completely. In 2024, America imported $422 billion in goods from Canada. We exported $348 billion to them. That's a $74 billion trade deficit in goods. But here's what changes the picture. When you include services, things like finance, technology, consulting, the deficit drops to somewhere between $36 and $45 billion. Now the president has claimed the deficit is $200 billion. That number doesn't exist in any official government data, not from the Census Bureau, not from Statistics Canada, nowhere. It's inflated by about 4 to 5 times. But more importantly, even if it were accurate, a trade deficit isn't charity. Americans aren't just sending money to Canada out of kindness. We're getting value back. Energy, minerals, parts, lumber, manufactured goods. Real products that American businesses and consumers actually need. The relationship works because both countries benefit. Canada gets access to the world's biggest consumer market. America gets reliable supplies of essential materials from a stable, friendly neighbor who shares our values. Blow that up and America doesn't become more independent. We become more expensive, less efficient, and strategically vulnerable. Here's something that doesn't get enough attention. This dependency flows both ways. There are 86 power lines connecting American states and Canadian provinces. The electrical grids are completely integrated. Canada sells us clean hydropower. We sell them power when they need it. It's a mutually beneficial exchange. But when Ontario's premier threatened to slap a 25% surcharge on electricity exports in response to tariffs, states like New York and Michigan suddenly realized how vulnerable they actually are. Parts of Canada depend heavily on energy that flows through the United States too. About half the natural gas used in Ontario and Quebec comes from American sources. Quebec's major refinery relies entirely on crude delivered via the US. So Canada has vulnerabilities as well. But here's the difference. When you're in a mutually dependent relationship, weaponizing that dependency doesn't just hurt the other side, it damages everyone. And it destroys the trust that makes future cooperation possible. Right now, that trust is collapsing. The president has repeatedly suggested making Canada the 51st state. He's called their prime minister's governor. He's posted AI-generated images showing Canada as American territory. He's threatened military action, then walked it back to economic force, which somehow isn't reassuring. Canadian public opinion? 90% oppose annexation. In one poll, 82% said they'd rather rejoin the British Empire as a colony than become part of the United States. Think about that. Canadians would literally prefer going backward to colonial rule over joining America. And it's not just voters. Politicians across every party, Liberal, Conservative, NDP, are united in opposition. The statements have been unequivocal. Never. The economic damage is already happening. When businesses don't know if tariffs are coming, if borders will be respected, if agreements will hold, they freeze. Investment stops. Projects get delayed. Alternative suppliers get contacted. Canadian exports to the US fell 4.1% in the first 10 months of 2025 compared to the previous year. Meanwhile, Canada's exports to other countries are growing. Canada is actively diversifying away from American dependency, not because it's ideal, but because depending on an unpredictable partner is simply too risky. So what actually happens if America tries to go it alone? Immediate gas price spikes, higher heating costs, electricity price jumps and potential blackouts, auto production grinding to a halt, vehicle prices soaring, defense production facing critical shortages, food prices rising from fertilizer costs, tech manufacturing disruptions, all while simultaneously fighting trade wars with China and trying to maintain global leadership. And here's the kicker. Allies around the world are watching how America treats its closest partner and wondering if they're next. Trust erodes. Coalitions weaken. American influence fades. Look, this isn't about Canada being perfect. There are legitimate trade issues that need negotiating. Border security matters. Economic relationships need constant adjustment. But there's a massive difference between tough negotiation and fundamental destabilization, between pushing for better terms and threatening to destroy the entire framework. What we are witnessing is a test of whether American power can be used productively or whether it just creates chaos. Whether allies can actually trust American commitments or whether every agreement is temporary. The answer determines whether America can build coalitions to compete with China, whether democracies can work together effectively, whether the entire post-World War II trading system survives. And here's the ultimate irony: declaring we don't need Canada while being structurally dependent on Canadian resources to maintain American living standards. You don't need their energy? 4 million barrels daily disagrees. You don't need their minerals? The Pentagon's entire strategy depends on them. You don't need their auto parts? Detroit would collapse. You don't need their lumber? Housing construction depends on it. The rhetoric of independence crashes directly into the reality of interdependence, and reality always wins. So here we are, a president claiming independence from Canada, a neighbor 90% opposed to annexation, supply chains built over decades, dependencies running both directions, trust disappearing fast, and consequences most Americans won't see coming until they're already paying the price. At the gas station, the grocery store, the car dealership, everywhere that depends on this invisible network of North American trade. This isn't sustainable. Either the approach changes and relationships stabilize, or the integration unwinds and both countries suffer. There's no scenario where America successfully cuts ties without serious economic pain. The connections run too deep. The alternatives cost too much. The timeline is too long. Canada isn't some distant trading partner we could swap out easily. It's the neighbor whose economy has been intertwined with ours for generations. When America says we don't need Canada, watch what happens to prices, production, and power. Watch every sector that's taken Canadian inputs for granted suddenly realize they can't function without them. And watch as Canada, facing an unreliable partner, starts looking elsewhere. Watch as the integration that made both countries stronger slowly falls apart. Watch as competitors step into gaps America created itself. This plays out in the real world, where supply chains, infrastructure, and investment decisions determine whether the lights stay on and whether the economy functions. The president says, we don't need Canada. The data says something completely different. And when rhetoric meets reality, reality doesn't compromise. The only question is how much damage happens before everyone figures that out. So let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.